Welcome back to the Blackletter podcast. We set out to create an entertaining and exciting podcast about law and business. Blackletter, the name, comes from the Gothic typeset. Over time, Blackletter became the only font that English law books were printed in. It made it harder for kind of the common person to understand what the English law books said. Blackletter came to represent something that was law, that was set in stone, that was sort of old and a well-settled fundamental principle of law. We're here to demystify black-letter law. We're here to demystify things that happen in business and law and where those two meet. And I hope you have fun listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Blackletter podcast. I've got Gordon Sumner with me here again, and we're talking about Veterans Moving Forward, his service organization. We've heard about the organization itself, that it costs $50,000 per dog to bring a dog to a veteran, that they serve every kind of veteran, that there is no program at the Department of Veterans Affairs, the VA. We don't all know, but I'm familiar with how unhelpful that particular organization can be. And that it costs $30,000 a month to run this nonprofit organization, which has been around now for 12 years, I think is the anniversary we're having. So Gordon this week is going to share with us some piece of sage wisdom or advice, something he's taken away from his years. Gordon, thanks for joining us again.
Oh, great to be back, Tom. Good to see you as always.
So share with us, Gordon, what piece of sage, or one or two or three pieces of advice, whatever it is, would you share with people that you've learned from your experience as, just, I guess, being an ESGR, the head of ESGR, managing, being the CEO of Veterans Moving Forward, whatever it is. People who listen to this are like, I'd like to get a nugget of business wisdom out of the experience of the people that come on the show, a nugget or two.
The leadership positions, as I mentioned in a previous spot that you and I did, that what we need to do is make sure that we have a cooperative effort. Especially in the role of a leader, is that you can't be sitting there thinking that you're at the top, you finally achieved it, and you did it on your own. Everything that you've accomplished has always been through teamwork. We know this very well through our military experiences, that I used to laugh because the NCOs, they would always say, well, they're the backbone of the Army. They're the ones who are doing this, that, and the other. So I actually had when I was a brand new lieutenant, my platoon sergeant told me one day, he says, LT, we need to talk. And I said, okay, well, let's talk. And he says, all right. So we got together that evening. He says, okay, Dawi, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take care of the platoon. I'm going to make sure that these guys are squared away. I was in an infantry unit. He says, and also I'm going to teach you how to be an officer. So I said, okay, that sounds good to me. Let's do that. And we'll see how that works. And so I tell people, if you don't like the way I ended up as an officer in the Army, don't blame me, blame the NCOs, because
Right.
that's what they said they were going to do.
Well, they also always say, Gordon, they say, don't call me sir, I work for a living. So
yeah, exactly.
we hear that
Exactly. But, the thing is that they were absolutely right, that they took on this responsibility to make sure that they had input. And the smart officer was the one who took that input from both the non-commissioned officers and their warrant officers, those of us in the aviation field. I relied on my warrant officers. They were the experts in their respective fields. They knew what we were doing. And so from that, I think that's where I translate those things into the business world and the nonprofit world. So how does that translate? Whenever you've got your team together, always ask for their input. You'd be surprised how some of these folks have some really, really good ideas, or they may see something based on their experience or what they're experiencing, even with the corporation at the time, or me and this nonprofit with Veterans Moving Forward, that I either didn't think about or I didn't see it in that particular light, especially when you're working with volunteers. So getting their input is very critical to the success of the organization. However, once everything is done, there's still only one commander. There's still only one president. And so whenever you make the decision, do so, believe in what you're doing. But as we also learned in the military, we had operations orders, and it started out looking good on paper until we actually started to execute. And then we started doing the alternate orders, or what we used to call the frag orders, because things change. Everything changes. Well, as soon as you do that, so you got this beautifully printed strategic plan, you've got the direction, you figure out how much budget you're going to need. 2 months into that strategic plan, yeah, Murphy comes to town. So what you do is you have to be able to adjust. You can't just keep going at it saying, well, this is what the plan says, so this is how we're going to have to do that. Well, nope, it's a living document and it needs to be revised and updated as you move along. As you also get your team members to come along with you. I like to think of it as the Pied Piper, where I get all the team together. And then this was really important, not only for the current job, but especially in my prior opportunity with Employers for the Guard and Reserve, with the 5,000 volunteers that I had across the country, to make sure they understand the direction, how important it was that they were part of that solution, that they were integral to how we organized, and that each one of them played a critical part in the overall success of it. One of my favorite things that I did, and I've done it here with ESGR, I mean, with Veterans Moving Forward, is I had a slide that had just Lego pieces. And I told everybody that you are, in essence, like a Lego piece. Everybody's a different shape, size, functionality, experience. Where do I go? Where do I fit? How does this do? I said, but at the end of the day, these Lego pieces are going to form the letters of, back then, ESGR, and today, Veterans Moving Forward, VMF. And so I had an artist guy to draw these letters with all these different Lego pieces and colors, but kind of looked like the letters. And I said,
Mhm.
if you notice, they all fit. And if you notice, they all work together. And if you notice, they all accomplish the mission of a successful organization. And it's because each one of you are part of that critical asset that we need to make sure that we can accomplish our mission. And for us, that's training and placing these service dogs with these deserving veterans who are dealing with mental or physical challenges.
So if I could summarize, then what I've got, Gordon, is first thing is get buy-in and input from everybody, then make the plan, and then no plan survives contact with the enemy. Be ready to adjust, but you've got to execute the plan once you have the plan. Those are kind of the pieces of wisdom that you've you've shared. Did I summarize that pretty fairly?
Yep, and I would just add one other piece because every plan has a resource requirement. And one of the things that I learned when I was in the Pentagon doing when I was responsible for Army training is that there was a tendency for the government to say, well, we only have so much money in the budget, so therefore we can only train X amount, which is a true statement. But the tenor of the conversation took on was, well, whatever amount of money we could train, that was the requirements that we need to function for the Army, which is absolutely incorrect in my view. So, for example, I need to train 100 Apache pilots in a year. Well, I've only got funding for 50 Apache pilots. So instead of saying, well, I'm fully funded because I can fund 50 Apache pilots, I would say, no, we're 50% funded because I still need 50 more pilots to meet the
Right.
requirements that we have worldwide. So that's why I tell people don't let resources drive the operations train. Make sure the operators drive the resource train. Don't change the requirements based on how many dollars that you may or may not have. Identify it. If you're short, then you've got an unfunded requirement that you've got to make up for it. That's where we are with Veterans Moving Forward. Again, you mentioned earlier, $30,000 a month operation. So if I don't get $30,000 this month, that doesn't mean that we're only training half a dog.
Right.
What it means is next month, whatever that delta is, I've got to raise the 30,000 plus that
Plus the
month
delta.
just to stay on track and still be able to
Yeah.
accomplish our mission.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you, Gordon. I appreciate that. And as you were talking, things were popping in my head, totally irrelevant. It's like Sergeant Major eats sugar cookies and all of this, you like all of the old like little mnemonics and tricks to try to remember all this planning stuff. Thanks for joining us. It's great having you on the show. We're gonna put your website along with this podcast so the listeners can click on the link and donate to Veterans Moving Forward and see more about your organization and your mission. And I don't know if they can visit your site or not, but they can definitely visit your website. I don't know if they can visit your physical site. And we'll also put out there if you're a veteran who needs a support from a dog, you know, Gordon's the guy to call, or his
Yep.
organization's the organization to reach out to.
Yeah, the best way to do it is to go to our website that you're going to post. So there's
Yep.
as you scroll across, it says, "How can I help?" So that because we need volunteers in a variety of different ways. So you can do that, fill out the form. And also, if you're a veteran, there's a form for you to fill out, and that'll get your application process started. I would like to add that, yes, we would love to have more monthly donors, obviously. And also, people say, well, I don't really have money that I can donate. Well, let me quickly tell you how you can do this. Everybody still buys through Amazon. So Amazon has a great charity program. It's called Amazon Smile. So
Yep.
if you go to amazonsmile.com website, and if you need it, it's again on our website. How can I help? And it'll tell you exactly how to do it. Takes literally 2 minutes to do, but you go to the Smile Amazon, you click on that, you register your Prime account through that. Takes again 2 seconds. Then you select Veterans Moving Forward out of Dulles, Virginia as your charity of choice. Now, every time you make a purchase through your Smile Amazon account, we get a donation from Amazon. So a percentage of your purchase, we will get money from that, free money from Amazon that's just sitting on the table. So let's get all the listeners out there, all the businesses, especially the you folks that are spending thousands of dollars a month for your business.
Right.
Let's get some of that free Bezos money and ship to us because, as I mentioned, we're not just providing these veterans a new leash on life. As I tell everybody, Veterans Moving Forward is not just changing lives, but we're saving the lives of these veterans every day through our service dog program. So we need your help.
I love it. Thank you, Gordon. Veterans Moving Forward, a new leash on life, just so we're clear, everybody. Thank you, Gordon, and thank you, listeners, for joining us for another podcast on the Blackletter Podcast. Download us wherever you get your podcasts: YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Blackletter.
That's all for today's episode of Blackletter. Thanks again for listening. Join us next time when we talk about more Blackletter issues in creative ways. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode, and check out our website at blackletterstudios.com.